Abigail's journey, from a pretender to a true queen. Abigail lived in a small village in the kingdom of Amen. The villagers revered her as a goddess because of her extraordinary magical abilities. But in reality, Abigail was a fraud. The magic she performed was nothing more than illusions she had learned from old books. As a child, Abigail was shunned by others for being an orphan and for her unusual golden eyes that shimmered like a fox's. When she discovered her talent for illusions, she realized she could become someone important. Slowly but surely, she built up her image while hiding her secret. Every day, she lived in fear of being exposed. One evening, during a magic performance, Abigail accidentally destroyed a merchant's vegetable cart. Yet, instead of being angry, the villagers praised her, thinking she had banished evil spirits. Abigail felt both proud and uneasy, wondering, how long can I keep this secret? One day, a disabled girl named Alina came from a neighboring village to see Abigail. Alina knelt before her, pleading for her legs to be healed. Please, help me walk again. I just want to be like everyone else. Abigail hesitated, trying to decline. I can't help you, your legs are bound by fate. The villagers around them pressured her to act. Abigail reluctantly performed a spell, sprinkling glowing powder and chanting incantations. But when Alina tried to stand, her legs remained lifeless. The crowd began to murmur. What's going on? Why can't she heal Alina's legs? Is she really a witch? Feeling cornered, Abigail froze in place, overwhelmed by fear and guilt. The villagers' anger escalated. You've deceived us, one man shouted. She's nothing but a fraud. Panicked, Abigail ran back to her small house to gather her belongings. That night, she fled on her broomstick, which she had equipped with a small motor of her own design. The night sky seemed to close in on her as she flew, her heart filled with shame and regret. As she soared higher, a sudden whirlwind appeared out of nowhere, pulling her in. Abigail felt her body being torn apart by the force before everything went black. When Abigail woke up, she found herself lying in a field where everything shimmered with gold. Golden butterflies fluttered around her, adding to the surreal beauty of the place. A young man appeared, timidly approaching her. He wore a royal cloak but had an air of shyness. He introduced himself as Philip, the prince of the kingdom. You are the great witch from the prophecy, Philip exclaimed. Abigail was startled. What prophecy? Philip explained that this kingdom had a prophecy about a witch from afar, named Abigail, who would save their land from the evil witch Finnet, who ruled the dark forest. Abigail didn't know how to respond. The admiration in Philip's eyes made it impossible for her to reveal the truth. She was no great witch, just a pretender. Philip brought Abigail to the palace, where she was warmly welcomed by Queen Rachel, his mother. The queen exuded authority and mystery. Rachel proposed a deal: if Abigail helped defeat the evil witch Finnet and retrieve her sacred bough from the dark forest, Rachel would reward her with ultimate power and half the kingdom's treasures. What must I do? Abigail asked hesitantly. Rachel replied, take Finet's sacred bough. It is the source of her power. Destroy it, and she will no longer be a threat. Despite her apprehension, Abigail agreed, unable to resist the allure of power. Abigail embarked on her journey into the dark forest. An eerie and foreboding place. The towering trees seemed alive, their twisted branches reaching out like claws. Strange sounds echoed all around her. The deeper she ventured, the more she felt as if something, or someone, was watching her. She whispered to herself, what have I gotten myself into? Can I really do this? Finally, she reached the heart of the forest, where a stone bridge led to a small, ancient hut. Inside, she saw the sacred bough glowing on a high pedestal. She crept closer, her heart pounding. As Abigail reached for the bough, a chilling voice called out, "Did you really think you could take that so easily?" The evil witch Vinnet appeared. But she was nothing like Abigail had imagined. Instead of being grotesque, Vinnet was a stunningly beautiful woman with piercing eyes that radiated power. Vinnet didn't attack Abigail, instead, she studied her, as if weighing her intentions. "Why do you want this bough? What has Rachel told you?" Abigail hesitantly explained her mission. Vinnet laughed bitterly and revealed the truth about Rachel, leaving Abigail speechless. Vinnet explained how Rachel had usurped the throne by assassinating the king and queen and kidnapping their son, Prince Philip. "Rachel painted me as the villain to hide her crimes," Vinnet said with sorrow. Abigail was shaken. Everything she thought she knew about Rachel was a lie. She realized that Rachel's promises of power and treasure were nothing but a trap. Abigail began to question, if I don't help Vinnet, won't I be complicit in Rachel's schemes? Vinnet didn't force Abigail to act but instead pleaded with her to consider the truth. "If you truly want to do the right thing, help me bring justice to this kingdom. I don't want the bough, nor do I need the throne. I only want my son, Prince Philip, to be free." Abigail was moved by Vinnet's sincerity. For the first time, she felt the weight of responsibility. "How do I know you're telling the truth?" Abigail asked. Vinnet revealed a magical orb that showed Rachel plotting to use Philip as a pawn to maintain her rule. "See for yourself. If you don't help, Rachel will continue her reign of terror." Abigail returned to the palace, determined to confront Rachel. But before she could speak, Rachel struck first. She used a potion to transform Philip into a monstrous beast, stripping him of his free will. Rachel commanded Philip to attack Abigail and Vinnet. Abigail quickly used the sacred bough to create a barrier, blocking Philip's assault. "You're a fool if you think you can defeat me," Rachel sneered. The battle grew fierce. Abigail and Vinnet struggled against Rachel's overwhelming power, barely holding their ground. In a desperate moment, Vinnet reached out to Philip. "My son, look at me. You are Prince Philip, my precious boy." For a brief second, Philip hesitated, his eyes flickering with recognition. But the potion's control was too strong, and he resumed his attack. Abigail realized that unless she acted, Philip would be lost forever. She devised a bold plan, used the sacred bough to destroy the device controlling Philip. With no regard for her own safety, she charged toward Rachel. Abigail fired an arrow from the sacred bough, aiming directly at the device in Rachel's hand that controlled Philip. A dazzling light exploded, illuminating the entire palace. The device shattered into pieces, and Rachel screamed in rage. Philip fell to the ground, clutching his head. Vinnet rushed to him, holding his trembling body. Abigail quickly prepared the antidote that Vinnet had given her earlier and poured it into Philip's mouth. Slowly, Philip's monstrous form began to fade. His breathing steadied, and his eyes became clear. Tears streamed down his face as he recognized his mother. "Mother, I'm so sorry for everything," he whispered, his voice breaking. Vinnet embraced him tightly, her tears flowing freely. With Philip freed from her control, Rachel found herself cornered. Her once loyal guards and advisors had witnessed the truth through Abigail's magical orb. "You betrayed this kingdom," one guard shouted. "You deceived us all." Rachel tried to flee, but the people of the palace captured her and brought her to justice. She was stripped of her power and sentenced to spend the rest of her days in exile. Far away from the kingdom she had ruled with lies and manipulation. Meanwhile, Vinnet took the sacred bow and handed it to Abigail. "This belongs to you now. You've proven yourself worthy of its power." Abigail hesitated. "I don't need it. True power doesn't come from magic, it comes from believing in yourself and doing what's right." At that moment, a radiant light enveloped Abigail. She felt an immense surge of energy within her, as if the universe itself recognized her courage and sincerity. Abigail realized that she no longer needed the sacred bow or illusions to prove her worth. The magic within her had awakened, not from external forces, but from her unwavering belief in herself. "Magic is not about control or power," Abigail said. "It's about faith, faith in yourself and in the goodness of others." Philip, now back to his human form, approached Abigail. "You've saved me, my mother, and this entire kingdom. How can I ever repay you?" Abigail smiled. "You don't need to. Just promise to rule with kindness and integrity, and to always remember the lessons we've learned today." Vinnet, seeing the transformation in Abigail, decided to relinquish the throne. "This kingdom belongs to you, Philip. I will step aside and live in peace, knowing you will bring prosperity and justice to our people." Abigail returned to her home village, now a changed person. The villagers, who had once cast her out, welcomed her back as a hero. The first thing Abigail did was seek out Alina, the disabled girl who had pleaded for her help. Abigail knelt beside her and placed her hands on Alina's legs. With her newfound power, she healed the girl, who stood up for the first time in years. The villagers gasped in awe, their previous doubts and fears replaced with admiration and gratitude. They finally saw Abigail for who she truly was, a kind, courageous, and selfless woman who had found her true strength. News of Abigail's deeds spread far and wide. Though she had the power to rule kingdoms, she chose to live simply, using her magic to help those in need. The sacred bow was returned to its rightful place, a reminder of the trials Abigail had faced and the lessons she had learned. The kingdom thrived under Philip's rule, guided by the wisdom he had gained from his mother and Abigail. And so, Abigail's journey came to an end, not as a pretender, but as a true symbol of hope, strength, and belief in oneself.